So, good morning, all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Morning. So, right, let me start with queues today because we have finished up with stacks. And so, in the assignments explanation, please look into the videos that I have shared with you. I think I have shared the videos with you, right? Already, like the queues video is also shared with you anywhere, but but I will explain to you now. I don't know how many of you have seen that assignment explanation. So the explanations will be there in the videos. Immediately download and you can upload in the YouTube. I think I instructed for the data science people also. In your WhatsApp, I have given the message. I think I remember that. Okay, right. Then the next thing is that you see the explanation of the assignments that I later upload in that. I will just tell you what are the assignments I am giving to you. So you can start it in the evening, in the afternoon sections anyway. You can go on doing it. In the meanwhile, I will create the assignments for you in virtual programming lab. So for now, we discuss about queues and after queues we also discuss anything that is related to the previous assignments, any doubt that is there, or otherwise I will explain you what assignments I will give you, and the complete explanation you can look into the videos that I have given to the previous sections. Okay, right. So coming to the queues, I will just share the screen. So coming to the queues, you can see that there are three compartments that are very important. That means three functions. One is NQ, DQ, and display. So in our stack programming, we have push and pop operations. But in queues, we have NQing and DQing. You know that stacks are generally the last in, first out, right? Or the first in, last out. But in queues, it is always like what is first in that will be first out. Queues are an important data structure when considering the operating system. I will tell you why. See, OS plays an important role in processing all the processes. Now you should understand that each process is a program. Whether your game or whether your print, you're trying to print some paper that you have already given, like maybe your program, or maybe some other thing like you have opened a Word or a browser or something. Everything is a program that they are written in some language. Operating system itself is written in some C++ language, and we have a few other languages used for writing the operating system, like Java for Solaris or something. But still people are following C++ oriented operating system design. So if you really want a job in Microsoft or Apple or something, designing the operating systems or work with iOS or something, you have to go with C++, Objective-C and something. The better understanding for this is that everything is a program on computer. Everything is a program and everything is an instruction. So operating system's instruction is to process the processes that are there, that are coming to it, and give it to the processor itself. What is a processor here? It's a CPU, right? It processes everything. So it processes everything. And how it processes? So for example, you are asking it to execute a game program, and immediately you are also giving it to print it. Next you are asking it to run the program, and the next thing is that you are going for you know uh, some other, like opening a browser or something like that. If that is the case, you need to understand, excuse me just a second. Okay. If that is the case, you need to understand that each one is a program. Of course, not only your python.py programs and executable programs, everything is an executable program and everything runs in the CPU. So of course the python runs in python virtual machine, but python virtual machine itself is a program that will be run on CPU. That you need to understand. That's what I said. Python virtual machine is a program written in C python, which will directly run on CPU, because for every CPU there should be some different architecture and different program to be run on. Like we have discussed about the difference between C and Python's execution. But Python program never directly runs on CPU, but it runs on Python virtual machine. But anyway, CPU has to execute your Python virtual machine. Then only this Python virtual machine executes your program Python. So anyway, CPU acts as a processor which process something. So now you need to understand that each one will be given in a queue type of thing. So you can understand this one like this. So first one is game, next one is print, the next one is program, and the next one is browser. So these are all queued. So what the operating system will do now, it will give this as process 1, process 2, process 3, and process 4. You need to understand that once the game is sent to the CPU and after its execution, it is cancelled, and next the program will be sent to the CPU. And do you really think that the real world is equal to the CPU? No. The way we write something in the computers is not equal to the real world. So in a real world queue, I can simply say an example. If there is a ticket counter, the box office, so there will be a line, right? So the person who came first will be served first. So he comes here, buys a ticket, and goes away. Next he comes here, buys a ticket, and goes away. This is not like that how the process will be there. The process will be kept in a queue and it will be sent to the CPU. And if the process is finished, how do the operating system know that the next process is this and how it will go? So for that, there will be a pointer that hangs on. The pointers actually represent now. So whatever it is, this arrow is pointing to, that will be first sent to the CPU. After its execution, the pointer will be moved to the next. After its execution, the pointer will be moved to the next. And remember, in this case, the game came first and the game is served first. See the difference between stack and this? In stack, if you keep the game like this, game, program, sorry, now print and program, and the last one is browser. The browser will be served first. So that is the reason why the process for processor CPU, it only uses a queue data structure. So operating system keeps all the requests in a queue, not in a stack. Stacks application comes in a program, memory management. Like the main calls the other function calls the other function, and so on. They're all stacked over one after one above the other. But in queue, it's not like that. So if game comes first and you are trying to execute browser, the game will be dissatisfied. The game will get anger on you. So for this, what we have done is that there is another data structure called queue, where the first come first serve. For example, you went to box office and you are standing first in a line and the last person is given the ticket. What you will do? Immediately you try to beat that person because you are the first person and waiting for a long time, and the person who came last is served first with a ticket. So naturally this also happens in the queue. A queue always indicates that whatever request that comes first, whether it's an element or a process or something, should be served first. That's what a queue. So this is the real time application of a queue using operating system. Now let us discuss the virtual applications, like using the numbers and the elements. For that, I have taken this one as an example so that we can discuss this. Okay. So the real implementation of a queue contains two pointers. The pointers are something like, this one is called rear and this one is called front. So why there are two pointers needed? Why front and rear? But in stack we only had top, right? Top starts at -1 and front and rear will be there. Okay, now based on the demo I give you, you will understand why front and rear are the pointers that are important. You can keep any name to them, start and end, front and back or something, but still front and rear are the notations that are used by default for explaining a queue. So that is why I'm following the default notations generally. So most people will discuss with the same names. That's what people accustomed to. Now, I want to insert, that means NQ, a number 5. So this is the first one I am thinking about. You can see NQ5. Now the first condition that you need to check is, when you are trying to NQ a number into the queue, you should understand that you have to find the conditions first. Whether this is out of queue. See, what is the size of queue? Queue is also using an array of fixed size. In operating system, generally it uses a dynamic queue. So it keeps on expanding. When the previous things are cancelled, again if a queue comes, again it will expand and so on and so. But sometimes it will also use a fixed queue. So at a time, at some particular ticks of time, maybe some 1.05 minutes exactly, if there are 4 processes coming, it can only adjust 4 processes, P1, P2, P3 and P4. And after finishing those 4 processes, then only it destroys the entire queue, creates a new queue and keeps the other requests here. The next type of request, maybe they come at 106, again P1, P2, P3 and P4, like that. So we take here a fixed size. Now you need to understand whether 5 is going out of bound in the sense the total elements that can be fixed in a queue are only 6. But if 5 is a number that is going out of bound, that means all the elements are filled and 5 is extra now, you should produce an error that queue is actually overfilled. Okay, overfilled. Now, you also need to understand, you need to find a condition if the number that I am enqueuing into the queue is the first number, that how do you find it? The first condition that you need to check is whether front and rear are at the position -1. Whether front and rear are at the position -1. So if they are at -1, the first thing that you need to do is you have to increment both of them. So front is equal to front plus 1, rear is equal to rear plus 1, right? Now you have to insert the element that you want to enqueue now at the position of the rear. So what you do here is, the rear position is pointing to 0 and hence it will be positioned at rear itself. See the first condition. If you are enqueuing something, the first thing that you need to check is if the front and rear are -1, then front is equal to front plus 1 and rear is equal to rear plus 1. Both comes to 0. So there is only one element in our queue 5 which is placed at a position where rear is pointing to. That means it is front and it is only rear. Simple example, if you are standing in a queue and you are the only person to buy a ticket for a movie, which is a flop movie, you want to just sleep in AC. So you are the only person in the front and you are the only person in the last. The same thing happens here. What is the next thing that we do? NQ100. NQ100. So the front will be at 5 pointing to 0 only. We are only NQing something. So what you do, you say rear is equal to rear plus 1. How do you measure it? If you think that both front and rear are not minus 1, then some elements are already there inside it, right? So there is no need for you to increase both front and rear at a time. You should only increment rear. So if front and rear are not minus 1, the next case, else part you have to do is rear is equal to rear plus 1. That's what my red arrow moved. And now you have to keep your element 100 at a position where rear is pointing to. So you should say that if this is our Q, the Q of rear is equal to the element 100. So then the 100 will be placed there. So again I am NQing 99 this time. Again you will check whether front and rear not equal to minus 1. So what is the next step that you do? Rear is equal to rear plus 1. If they are not minus 1, else part rear is equal to rear plus 1. Then Q of rear is equal to the element, that means 99. So keep 99 here. Okay. Next again NQ1. Then you see the same condition and increment rear is equal to rear plus 1. And keep Q of rear is equal to the element 1. Yes. I stop NQing here. And if I try to DQ it, DQ means every first element will be deleted. That means wherever the front is pointing to will be deleted. Deleted in the sense, after all, we have explained everything like memory management to you, right? Already. Memory can never be erased with a Natras rubber or some rubber, like you write with pencil and erase it. You just move the pointer saying that I discard that one, I don't want that one. So whenever I call the function DQ, you have to simply do front is equal to front plus 1. Now can anybody tell me how many elements are there here?
3, sir.
So in your queue there are only 3 elements because 5 is discarded, 5 is served already. Like your numbers, the processes also are done like that. So when front is equal to front plus 1, then your CPU has executed a process 5. Example I am talking. Imagine like that. These are numbers, but process also will be done like that. Now the CPU is trying to execute process 100. Like that you imagine. So there are only 3 processes now in our queue to get executed. And in the meanwhile, I have another process called NQ200. So 200 is coming now. So immediate thing you have to do is you need to check whether front and rear minus 1 or not. It is not there. So what you do, you simply give rear is equal to rear plus 1, and wherever the rear is there, keep 200 there. So Q of rear is equal to 200. Okay. Now we will look into different conditions. Now I'm calling DQ continuously. Whenever I call DQ, front will be front plus 1. Front will be front plus 1. And final DQ, front will be front plus 1. You see what happens now. Both rear and front are pointing to the same thing. Now you need to see 2 conditions. If I again call DQ, according to my previous explanation, what I am trying to do, I am doing front is equal to front plus 1. But this is illegal, right? Can anybody tell me why this is illegal?
So because front is moving ahead of rear.
Yes. So that means it is like, the tile is coming front and the head is going back. For example, you think it like a snake. The head can never bypass a tile, right? The head will always be in front and the tile will be always at back. The same thing, the front should always be either equal to or less than the rear. It should not bypass rear. So whenever you are calling DQ, the first condition you need to check is whether both front and rear are pointing to the same position. If both front and rear are pointing to the same position, the thing that you need to do is increment both of them. So that means even 200 is eliminated. So you will have only have one space left for anything that to be inserted, because all 599, 1 and 200 are served already and these are all discarded. There will be only one element, if anything, that will be inserted in the queue because only one space is left. Now, another condition comes, you see clearly. If I am now NQing 101, whenever we try to NQ, we only checked whether front and rear are pointing to -1. If not, you just go with R is equal to R plus 1. But now in our case, if I do R is equal to R plus 1, it is going out of bound of Q. So what is the next condition I need to check? If I am NQing 101 and in this condition, what will you do? Can you tell me?
If rear is equal to length of this Q minus 1, then just print this, that.
Not only rear is equal to length of Q minus 1. Maybe I will have something like this also. So I will have both this one like this. Now what will happen now? First I need to fill the space there, right? If regularly, if I am doing like rear is equal to rear plus 1, this will be left alone like an orphan without any value gets filled. Now can you tell me what will you do now? Do we have to do rear is equal to rear plus 1 and keep Q of rear is equal to that number, or directly Q of rear is equal to that number?
Q of rear equals to that number.
Directly. So in NQing, you find now three conditions. The first condition is if front and rear are pointing to -1, increase both front and rear and keep the element in Q of rear. This is one case. Else, if front and rear are pointing to the same position, then without increment, keep Q of rear is equal to that element. So if these both conditions are not correct, the final else part is just increment rear and keep the element into the Q of rear. That's all. So these are the three conditions that you need to look into. And coming to DQ, now for example, everything is filled. Everything is filled. 200, 101, and your both things are pointing to this one. And finally, front also came here. And you again want to DQ. What will you do now? Is there anything that you need to think about, any condition? After all, both are pointing to the last element, right? The simple thing that you need to do is when both are pointing to the same and last element also, you will just increment your front and rear because you are DQing. That's the end of your queue. The entire queue is deleted now. But after this, again, you want to call DQ. Now it should give an error that the queue is entirely deleted and there is nothing to DQ. How do you know that? Any answer from your side?
When both are pointing to the same position and they're equal to at the like next to the last node, that is they're at the length of Q.
Yes, if both are pointing to the length of the queue, because the length of the queue is 6, but your indexes start with 0 and ends at 5. But if both are pointing to the length of the queue, that means 6 in this case, then it is said as there will be an error that you cannot further dequeue anything because the entire queue has been dequeued already. That's the error you have to produce, right? So this what happens in queue. But if you are trying to enqueue everything, and when the arrow comes, for example, your arrow is at this position, and if you are trying to enqueue something, the arrow cannot move forward, right? If your rear is already pointing to the length -1 position, then you cannot enqueue anything. There should be an error. If the both front and rear are pointing to the length position already, so there is nothing to dequeue. Remember these conditions also. You cannot enqueue something and you cannot also dequeue. So errors you write in your program. Whenever I give something, errors you write in your program, right? So I just gave you hints of how do you find out the errors. Now let's write the conditions. Now you need to tell me what are the conditions I need to write. For enqueuing, what are the things I need to write? Please tell me.
If front is -1 and if rear is also -1,
Yes,
then increment
I
both.
write front as F, okay? -1 and R also equals to -1. Then what I need to do?
Increment both. Front equals to front plus 1, rear
Front is
equals to rear
equal
plus
to front plus 1, rear is equal to rear plus 1, and next,
1.
Q
Put
of
that
R
value
is
to be
equal
inserted.
to
yes, Q of R equal to element. What is the next condition? Else if ELIF. What is the next condition? If both are pointing to the same position, what will you do?
Just simply put that directly.
Yes, Q of R is equal to element. The final else condition, if these both conditions are not satisfied, what is the final else condition that you will do?
increment R and put the
Yes, increment R. R is equal to R plus 1 and Q of R is equal to element. This is what happens. So after writing these programs, we will also check the program and do it. And for dequeuing, what are the conditions that we discussed for dequeuing? Can you tell me? What is the general way of dequeuing it? What will you do to tell something is dequeued?
Front equals to front plus 1.
Okay, but when front is already pointing to the same position for rear, can you increment front or what will you do? For
Increment
example,
both.
yes, if for example both are point, for example, if this is the case, for dequeuing, you can simply say front is equal to front plus 1. But in this case, if I want to dequeue again, what will happen is you cannot bypass this one and go like this. So what you need to do, you should increment both front and rear. So that means 200 is dequeued. It is not pointed to anybody, right? Okay. Now you need to write down the conditions for that. If F is equal to R, then front is equal to front plus 1, rear is equal to rear plus 1. And of course, before that, you need to also check the error also. That you write in your own ways. I don't tell how do you do that. If front is equal to R and front and R are equal to the length of the Q, then you cannot do this. You need to do some other thing. Produce an error. If front is equal to R and they are not equal to the length of the queue, then you can do f front is equal to front plus 1 and rear is equal to rear plus 1. You can write that one in your own terms. Now I'm writing only these things. I'm not writing errors.
So can we increment the front before rear? Because both of them are equal and front should not be in front of rear.
Front cannot, you can increment front in all the ways, but it should not bypass the rear. Did you understand? If you
No, sir,
just
but
yeah.
if we increment front first, then it is going ahead of rear, no? Like,
No. At that condition, it's okay. Okay, you can just interchange that way. What I'm saying is that in this case, you are incrementing both at a time, right? At a time in the sense, whatever might be the first and whatever might be the second, by the next instruction, both are pointing to the next positions. That's not a very, difficult condition here. But if I don't write R is equal to R plus 1 and it is going to the next instruction, that's bad. Did you understand what I'm saying?
yes.
Before you go to the next instruction, both should be pointing to the same position if this is the case. But before going to next position, next instruction, if only front is incremented, then that's wrong. So in this case, the priority is not important, whether R is incremented first or front is incremented first. But before it comes out of the if condition and go to the next instruction, they should be pointing to the same if front and rear are equal. Okay, the next thing is only we will do front is equal to front plus 1. That's all. Now display. Can anybody tell me what do you display? What will be the start and what will be the end?
From front to end plus 1.
For I in range front to
Rear plus 1.
rear plus 1. There we started 0 and ends at top plus 1. Here we started front and ends at rear plus 1. So print Q of I. That's all. So all the elements of your Q are presented. Now let's do it. Now based on the conditions that we have written, now we will enqueue the elements and we will do that. So all are starting at -1. And if there is any difficulty, you need to tell me what are the conditions that we are missing. Any conditions that we need to add furthermore. Now I am enqueuing 5. Which one will be pointed to? Which condition is satisfying?
First if statement.
Yeah, first condition is satisfying. F is equal to -1 and R is equal to -1. So your both front and rear will be incremented and Q of R is equal to element. Okay, I will write 5. That's correct. Now I want to enqueue 100. I want to
Else.
enqueue 100.
Else condition.
Else if.
But else if is satisfying, right? F is equal to R, right? Then Q of R is equal to element. So what will happen? The 5 will be replaced with 100. So what is that we are missing here? Anything that we are missing here?
Maybe F not equal to -1 or something.
Yes. So the simple change that you do here is if F is equal to R, okay, and F not equal to 0 and R not equal to 0. If F and R are not equal to zeros and F is equal to R, then only you do this. Otherwise, you always do the same thing, like increment R and put the value there. So now you see again, it comes to else if, but it sees that F and R are equal, but F should not be equal to 0. But F is equal to 0. R should not be equal to 0, but R is equal to 0. Right? So what happens now? It will skip this one and go to the else part. R is equal to R plus 1 and Q of R is equal to element. So R is equal to R plus 1 and Q of R is equal to element. So this is how when you work it on paper, you will find out what are the mistakes that you have done. So if you code directly, you doesn't understand the mistakes. See how I am tracing out each step. That's how you need to learn while you are writing a code. First work it out on paper, then only you will understand the logic. And you should also know how the memory works. That's why I always stress how the memory works. Memory management is very important while you write the code. If you think memory management is something like magical, you will never understand coding. It's not a magic, it's a logic. You understand the logic and find out how you write the code. That's what I'm writing now, right? Again, I'm enqueuing 99. Now tell me which condition will be satisfied.
Else.
Else condition. So again, rare is equal to rare plus 1 and keep the element there. So 99. Now I want to DQ. What will happen? Which condition will be satisfied?
Else
Else
condition.
of DQ.
Else of DQ. So this one will be satisfied. Else of DQ. Only friend is equal to friend plus 1. Again, I want to DQ.
Else
Again,
condition.
else of DQ.
Again, else of DQ. Again, I want to DQ.
If statement of DQ.
Yes, if statement of DQ. Friend is equal to R. So both friend and rare will be incremented. So first according to as friend and then rare. So by the time it goes to the next condition, both are ready pointing to the next location. Now I want to NQ 100. What will happen now? Which condition of NQ will be satisfied?
Elif of NQ.
L if condition, because F is equal to R and friend and rare are not equal to 0. That's fine. So Q of R is equal to element. So I am putting 100 here. I want to NQ again. What condition will be satisfied?
Again, Elif.
Is it like friend and rare are equal to so again there is something fault here. Now you tell me, how do you recognize it?
R is equal to R plus 1.
Yeah, you need to go to R is equal to R plus 1, but so that means what you will do here is that you cannot go friend rare is equal to, right? So again, if you want to NQ something, but still friend and rare are at the same position. So else if is satisfying. How do you know that we need to go to else condition? Something you have to do.
Sir, in the elif, can we write like after the element goes into R, can we like increment R?
But if we increment R, so both because friend and rare are different, it will go to else condition. So for example, according to you
Yes, sir.
might have done increment R. So
Yes.
what happens? It goes to else and rare will be incremented again. This is the position where the element will be placed. What about this one?
Yes, sir.
So that's also not satisfying.
Yes.
Any modification? We are caught up here. We need to now get out of this problem. So that means there should be some change in the conditions itself. Remaining are all okay. We have tested all the conditions, but this is where we are failing. See? You should not use any extra pointer, of course. Can we mix these two itself? Can we do it like this? Can't we make them mixed? Can't we keep it as a sub condition of that? And if it is not satisfying,
Yes,
then
sir.
we will go for that For example, we will first find out the major condition is if f is equal to r. It will be -1 or something. If f is equal to r, then it will go inside. If f and r are both 0, then you do something. If f and r are -1, then you do something. Like that, can we write?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that you will now try out it. Now you will try out and tell me the original condition. I will wait for it. I will modify according to what you have said. You test it and get down the final condition.
Sir, shall we write the program or just tell you the logic?
No, you will only tell me the logic. I will write here. I need to modify this. I will now rub this one. I want that condition also to be satisfied, because now we see that these conditions are not satisfying that particular situation. Now we need to solve that situation now. Anyway, this is important, but if you try to just modify, then also we can do this. So I will rub this one also. We can start with fresh. So a fresh aspect will be thought about and then we will do it. So anything that you want to say?
So first of all, we can check if f is equal to r.
Okay. If f equal to r,
Then inside that we can put a nested if, which checks if rear equals to -1.
if f, what you said, if
R- Rear equals to -1, because if rear is
equals
-1, then
to
f will also be -1.
okay,
Then increment both.
okay, front is equal to front plus 1, r is equal to r plus 1, okay,
Then q of r is element.
okay, q of r is equal to element,
Below this, inside this nested if only, elif statement.
okay, l
Uh,
uh,
if rear is 0,
rear is equal to 0,
then just put that element q of r equals to element.
q of r is equal to element,
Or else, like below this elif, else increment R and Q of R equals to element.
Is it the same thing? Else? What you said? Sorry, you said QR is equal to R plus 1 and Q of R is equal to element. Okay, next anything?
Just below this whole F, we can write that else statement which we wrote before.
Else?
R equals to R plus 1 and Q of R equals to element.
Q of R is equal to element. Now we will check the same thing then. Now I want to DQ. Now both front and rear are equal. So if R is equal to -1 is not satisfying, R is equal to 0 is not satisfying. Yes, that's correct. We simply go for R is equal to R plus 1 and we keep the element 99 or something, whatever you want to keep. That's all. If R is equal to F is equal to R is not satisfying, anyway it will always go for R is equal to R plus 1 because this is the condition it satisfies. Otherwise you can go for this. If it is -1 you can go for this, or if it is 0 you can go for this, or not anything else you can directly go for this. I think now it will work for most of the time, because front will never go beyond R, right? So if R is equal to -1, that's enough, that's fine. And R also equal to 0, that's also fine, because front will always be at either 0 or something, only 0. If R is at 0, front will also be at 0. If R is at -1, front will also be at -1. Okay, that's fine. I think it will work. Thank you, Saurit.
Yes, sir.
So people, now you start coding it. Write down a class program in which you create class Q, and in that you start writing these things. So you initiate with a fixed array like what you have done using stack. I think you have done the assignment also, right? So you have to do it using stack. Like your stack, you do it. Initiate with a fixed array.
It's 10 o'clock.
Both front and rear should be starting as class variables as -1. Okay. And you have to write these three functions: enqueue, dequeue, and display. Don't forget self there. Okay, I have even explained you, right, that self, my self, everything will be fine. I have explained to you, or somebody else?
Yes, sir, Assam.
Yeah, I have explained to you, like this pointer and all. You can use anything, but self is important for objects to be there in your functions. So after this, you write a global frame or a main function from which you create an object and call these functions like that. You now practice it. Take your time to practice this one. You have another 1 hour of time. You can discuss with me if there is any doubt, or if you have executed, you can show me the executions. But don't sit idle. You will be the person who will lose, not me. I'm giving you time to practice yourself. Please do it.
So
Tell me, Saurit.
So in this queue, like when this front has come, like supposed to the third position, the first three spaces are going wasted, right, sir?
Yeah, that's what I want to raise that one. In the video that I have given to you, I already raised it, but I thought of once you write the program, then I can discuss. But anyway, you raised the point I want to discuss with you. So the main disadvantage, generally I ask the question, what is the main disadvantage? But anyway, you have found the disadvantage. The main disadvantage of the queue is that once the previous elements have been dequeued, you cannot go back. You can only go in a front direction, right? You can go only in a forward direction like this. You can see I am underlying. So you cannot go back. That means these things are wasted. So this 599 are already wasted. This space you cannot use it. See the advantage of stack here. So that's what I explained for the people in the previous class. I will now explain to you again. So if you have a stack here, stack is such a beautiful thing that whenever you want to just, if your top element is here and you want to pop out, you can go like this, right? But if you want to push something, again you can increment your pointer and push it. So all these things can be used n number of times or infinite times. All these spaces can be used infinite times. How many times you want to push and pop in this particular fixed size, it will be available. But see what happens to the queue. Once you said that I want to discard these spaces, so because your front is here and rear is here, and these spaces are already discarded, you can never use them. This is the disadvantage of queue here. That too, it's a fixed queue. I am talking about fixed queue, not dynamic queue, because dynamic queue, even though if it is wasted, you can increment and go on. But still, they are part of your array, right? So you're not giving to anybody or you are not using it. So either you need to destroy the entire queue and create a new one so that these memory can be used by somebody else. Did you understand? For example, what I want to say is, yeah, our ancestors used to cook the food using some, wooden sticks, right? So they started to assemble with some wooden sticks with a pot on it, and they are doing some cooking. So after cooking, the entire thing will be filled with ash. And you create a new space and again start cooking the next day. You are not cleaning the ash here. The ash is still there. Again you are doing, again you are doing, again you are doing. And if somebody wants to cook and everything is filled with ash and you are saying all these places are mine, nobody can use it. So what you need to do, you need to clean them entirely. And then you can do it. But instead what I will do is, so I will just clean entirely and give it to somebody else. Okay, you can use this space, I will use some other space like that, right? So everybody can use it. Now what happens in this case, you are just making it as fixed. You are saying these places are mine, but you are saying I'm discarding it. I don't want these places. See, at the same time you are saying two things. You are catching hold it as an array. This is part of your space, but you don't want to use this space. So you are a miser here. So you know the misers, right? They will attain money. They will not use and they will not let anybody use that. The same thing. It is attaining the space. It is not using this space, and it is not allowing anybody to use this space because it is catching hold of these spaces and still not using them. This is the disadvantage of queue here. Now what I will do generally, if I am coming to the pot example, the same pot example, so I will make it like this. So every day I will use it, and coming to back, I will clean up and use it again. I will clean up and use it again. I will clean up and use it again. So I will make myself fixed in this position only. So can anybody tell me what is your idea of reusing it?
Circular queue, sir.
Yes, it's a circular queue. That's a part of your circular queue. What the circular queue mean is, if front and rear are pointing to the same thing, and if you want to enqueue anything, earlier we used to say you cannot enqueue further. But here, if the front is not 0 and somewhere else, you can go with R is equal to 0 again. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. R is equal to 0. And if you want again enqueue, you can go until front. But your R should not be incremented more than front. So your rear can now come up to here. So this is possible in circular queue. You might ask me, sir, rear is front and front is at back of rear, but still it is possible in circular queue. Because we imagine circular queue like this. Have you seen this diagram? Look into this where my laser pointer is pointing to. This is how the circular queue imagine. So what will you do now? Your front is here. So from this, you think that the front is marked with red color. So sorry, blue color. From here to here, you can fill it out because this is rear. Rear is pointing at 0 and front is pointing at 2. And there is one element that can be inserted is only pointed by 1. You see, you can increment rear up to this. You cannot go forward this one. If you DQ something, maybe the front is coming here. So I will just rub it and my front is coming here. So my front is here at this position. Now you see that both the spaces are allowed for the rear to get incremented. If I can now NQ two elements now. So NQ two elements in the sense I can move the rear from 0 to 2. So up to this I can come with my rear. Now you need to think about the condition for the circular queue. Anyway, first do the queue and then think about circular queue. So I hope you understand what you do. The only thing that you do is instead of producing an error after this one comes here, see, if this is at this position, because you cannot increment rear, you produce an error, right? But this time what you do, you will say if it is at last position pointing to, and front is also somewhere else other than the next position, you can just increment the rear to 0. Not increment, you can set rear to 0. So and from there you can go. So what will you discuss here? The queue starts from this position 5, 0, 1 and 2. So 3 and 4 are not part of your queue. That's how you need to understand. So anyway, come with this solution of queues and then you can go for the solution of circular queue if you understand. Understood? Yes or no? How do
Yes,
you?
sir.
Yes. You can discuss among yourself on how you can do a circular queue and come up with a solution from your side. So I will give you the assignment after some time. So in the next class, I will discuss with. In the meanwhile, you can view the video also for the assignment and try to answer those assignment questions. Yes, sir. I have just uploaded the assignment now. Just look into that assignment. I will just change the dates and also look into the video where I have explained everything regarding that assignment. So this assignment is basically consisting of finding out the number of brackets that are required to just fill everything. So I have explained it very clearly in that video, which I have shared with the other section, and I have also shared it with you. And you just look into the description of the assignment and do the assignment now. If you have any doubts, you can discuss with me regarding that assignment. But before going to that, please go through the assignment description video. I think the heading will be something like linked list stacks and assignment description something. There will be one video. Please go through that video. Then only you can understand the program and the problem, how you can do that. Using one example which I have given, you cannot understand that. Okay. Okay, then we will close the session now and you can go through the assignment. Bye bye.